Yeah, so we've seen the first and the opening day of the Afreximbank 32nd annual meetings in Abuja, Nigeria's political capital. It's been a day of more than enough presentations and thematic discussions around trade, investment, transformation, and resilience that the DFI has brought to the continent over the last 3 decades and 2 years. But today we've seen quite a couple of conversations and interviews around the new trade report that was launched by the by Afreximbank. Of course, you can see all the details and how much has been done in terms of intra-Africa trade across the continent. The various commitments that the Afreximbank also has for sovereigns, for private sector institutions, was also discussed today's around how to ensure intra-Africa trade, how to ensure diverse funding for the continent in terms of changing the funding sources, for example, collaborations that are needed between the various DFIs, Afreximbank, the Africa Finance Corporation, the Trade and Development Bank, the African Development Bank Group, and others. That's also been discussed in terms of the handshake amongst them. But the key message is to how to come together to create a global Africa that is needed to support infrastructure and other forms of financing and trade that the continent really needs. There was also a side event a couple of hours ago by the Pan-African Payment Settlement System to unlock further effectiveness of trading across the continent and onboarding a new platform of what can be used to support trade across the 54 countries on the continent. Part of what we've also seen today was Nigeria being the host country and, of course, the largest the recipient of Afreximbank funding over the last 32 years. Spoke to Nigeria's Minister of Trade, Industry and Investment earlier. There's still a whole lot more being done that Nigeria wants to get done. For example, the creation of special economic zones in Nigeria through the ARISE IPP integrated network, which has already been done in a few countries in West Africa and elsewhere. That's also been pursued strongly. That will also be done. I also had a bit of a chat with Denya, who's the senior vice president at Afreximbank. He also talked about the Diversify funding, in particular local currency funding that is being pursued by Afreximbank. And he says sometime this year, before the end of the year, there should be about $1 billion worth of Naira currency that will be floated by Afreximbank. That similar transaction would also be done with via the CFE fund in West Africa. So quite a whole lot with thematic sessions being held on healthcare, on energy, and a few other things. It's going to be a whole lot more as we get into tomorrow, the second day, which is Thursday. We're going to focus a whole lot on very core areas that the Afreximbank is looking to expand and become more definite in terms of its interventions on the continent to catalyze trade, create wealth, create jobs, help industrialization and manufacturing on the African continent. Reporting from the venue of the African Export-Import Bank in Abuja, in Nigeria, I am hosting Nomo for